Hello, hello. I'm just echoing. The, did, did you see any of that?
No.
Okay, that's not. Okay, I just want to make sure. I may mention that.
Okay. Yeah.
And then they watch a highlight film. Right, they watch a highlight film right before they get on the bus. And some people say, "Hey, don't read your clip."
Yeah. Don't fill your head with all the good stuff. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's something.
They don't, I mean, they just, yeah, I mean, listen, these are my
I hear you.
These are my co-stars.
I have
here.
a better eye for you today.
All right, hit record in 3, 2. All right, listen, it's about 2 minutes, 3 minutes till we're live. We've got the Ben Buchanan, we've got the Kellyanne Stitz, and we've got the Football Fever coming to you here live.
Whatever, and then you walk in and he's like, who are you? Who are you? Yeah, like, I walk in, you're like,
When it comes to the rankings, Ohio State is on top of the nation. But this week, they travel to the tip of the nation, Seattle, Washington, home of the 3-0 Huskies. Washington is hoping to ruin the Buckeyes' picture-perfect season in one of the most picturesque venues in all of sports. They call it the greatest setting in college football. The scoreboard. These Huskies mush, these Buckeyes rush. And today it's the dawn of a new rivalry in the Big Ten. Ohio State against Washington. The football fever starts right now.
Well, it's all quiet at the shoe right now because the Buckeyes are out west for their first game away from the cozy confines of Ohio Stadium. It's Ohio State versus Washington. The Buckeyes have been in Seattle since Thursday, getting ready to hush the Huskies. And that means we're back after the bye. Welcome into our former Buckeyes, Ben Buchanan and Jay Richardson. Guys, how are we feeling about the Buckeyes' first road test of the season?
Oh, I'm excited right now. This is going to be a huge test for the Buckeyes offense, more importantly, because of that crowd noise. We'll talk all about it later on, but a unique test for the defense with the dual threat quarterback.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be some interesting things to watch, a lot of growth you expect. Again, Ben, you know this, you see the biggest jump from your football team between week 1 and week 3.
Yep.
You find out who your team is and what kind of personality they're going to develop, and on the road is the best opportunity to find out what you really got out there. You don't find out what you got when you're beating up on HBCUs,
No
and
doubt.
you're beating up
Right.
on in school, in state
MAC
rivals
teams.
like MAC teams. That's not what you're going to find out. You're going to find out on the road in a hostile environment in a place that is very difficult to play, which we'll highlight later. It's going to be a lot of fun, Ben.
Yeah, and coming off a bye week as well, right? This is really where you're going to see the maturity of a football team, week 1 to week 2, week 3, but then you have some time off, right? Are you going to get lazy? Are you going to get complacent? Or are you going to get better, right? The best teams have that ability just to become elite and to get better. So this stadium is for real. I was looking at some of the loudest sound decibels ever recorded in college football. It's right up there, or might even have the record. I mean, so very impressive when you talk about Husky Stadium and first road test. It's still, to me, a Pac-12 school. I'm getting used to the Big Ten thing.
so
But
strange, right?
you're flying out west, and to see these guys, a mature football team, Ryan Day, these 2025 Buckeyes, I'd like them to have a big win today, guys.
And the Huskies put out that it's a sold-out game, so just adding
Impressive.
to that hostile environment. But we have all these storylines to unpack as we continue through the show. But the Buckeyes weren't the only ones adjusting their travel schedules this week. Today, we have you covered from Columbus to Seattle. Dave Holmes and Obi Stillwell flew out west on Thursday and have been getting acquainted in enemy territory. Guys, how are things out in the Pacific Northwest? It's lunchtime here, but breakfast's over there.
Columbus, good early morning, Kellyanne, out here. We're 3 hours behind here on Pacific Coast time. The first question answered, though, the bow tie does travel.
The bow tie travel.
It does travel with Obi. I'm not worried about your fashion. I am slightly concerned about a first-year starting quarterback, Julian Sayin. What is he going to face today here in Husky Stadium?
Yeah, you know what? The truth of the matter is that whenever the Buckeyes show up on a road game, it is that team's biggest game of the year, and there's no question about that. I think there's going to be something cool about what we're going to talk a little bit about Ryan's Day science, right, around the travel, but what about the psychology of the game, and how does he walk his new young quarterback through this atmosphere? It's going to be new, it's going to be loud, it's going to be obnoxious. Is he going to be able to respond? I think he will. I think he'll be able to respond, but it's going to be a rowdy atmosphere.
Yeah, we knew things would be different when UCLA, USC, Washington, and Oregon joined the Big Ten. We're starting to see it now because, as you mentioned, the schedule a little different this week because Ryan Day normally flies into Friday for a road game. That's what they did last year against Oregon. They flew in Friday night for the Ducks. They tweaked it this year. They decided to come in late Thursday night, walk through on Friday afternoon. Here's what Ryan Day had to say about tweaking that schedule this week.
I don't think there was anything sports science-wise that says us leaving the day before had any effect in the game. But that being said, we did a lot of, because I think it's more about, are you focused? Are you locked in? Are you sluggish? You look at all these different metrics.
I had a chance to talk to Ryan Day right quickly after he got off the bus yesterday from the walkthrough. He said, we feel ready to go. But he said it does feel kind of like a bowl game, a little different. Now, you are one of the few men on earth who knows what it's like to play in this stadium as an Ohio State Buckeye. You did it in 1994.
Yeah.
What do you remember about Husky Stadium?
Well, serene. It's beautiful. The people are kind. You look at the redwoods, and then you get on the field, and they come at your neck. One of the things that I remember is that they went down, they scored, but they actually did an onside kick, got the ball back, and went down and scored again. Here's what's interesting also is that Napoleon Kaufman was their Heisman hopeful at that time.
Running back, great player.
Running back, yes. And Joey Galloway, the wide receiver, was Ohio State's Heisman hopeful. Joey didn't play in that game that day. He was on a 2-game suspension for accepting, get this, $200 from a sports agent. We're talking about $200 from a sports agent, and he thought he was going to go to the NFL. He decided to stay, and he didn't pay that money back. So guess what? We didn't have Joey that day. And a lot of people forget that, right? He was the difference maker. But at the end of the day, a great Washington team, great atmosphere. It is going to be a game that the guys are going to have to galvanize, but it's something cool about getting shoulder to shoulder in the enemy's camp and coming back with a W. I think Ohio State can do that, but it's not going to be an easy task.
Well, I'll say this, guys. I don't know what $200 could buy you in 1994. Nowadays in Seattle, it gets you a salad at Whole Foods. Not even any chicken on it. That's more. If you add chicken,
protein.
It's more than 200, guys. So we'll be checking in later here in the show.
Well, thanks so much, guys. Now the Buckeyes are coming off of their first of 2 bye weeks, and this year the extra preparation has served them well in the past. Ryan Day is undefeated when coming off of a bye week. He's also 24-3 in Big Ten road games. Those 3 losses come against Oregon last year and then twice against the team up north in 2021 and 2023. But the Buckeyes will still have to shift strategies when it comes to certain road games. It's been 1 year since 4 teams were added to the historically Midwestern-based Big Ten Conference. Now there's a West Coast element to the conference, and Washington is one of the most prominent teams of the new bi-coastal Big Ten and undefeated this season without a single AP vote. A little underrated in my opinion. Yeah. Jay and Ben, you guys didn't have to travel far for conference games, but you've made some long treks during your playing days in Scarlet and Gray. Pretty much every season you two played at Ohio State, you were traveling across the country for bowl games and title matches. So Ben, as a player, you're dealing with time changes, climate changes, a different schedule, and you get to experience some really cool places. How do you stay mentally and physically focused and prepared for matchups like these? Yeah,
I'll use the word again, maturity. You're going to see senior leaders, position leaders, obviously not even dependent on age. We've seen so many underclassmen that have been these type of players stepping up in these adversity type environments. Husky Stadium is real. You're going to hear it. Those sound decibels are going to be absolutely pulsing today. I remember that's the Nokia Sugar Bowl right there in 2011. Terrell Pryor taking off, punting down there. The Sioux-wee, it was the cheer that Arkansas used to always have. And man, it was loud and proud down there in SEC country. So I ended up escaping in that bowl game. But Rose Bowl, Fiesta Bowl, you think about traveling out west, you have to be disciplined with your schedule, your nutrition, everything that goes into things that you can control. You have to control what you can control. The things you can't, that's where the maturity is going to take over right there. I like talking about this, though, guys. California cool Julian Sayin. That's what they call him, right? He's
the surfer kid.
He's gonna. Now I know it's a little different than the Pacific Northwest, a little more rain and such, but I like the way that he's going to respond to adversity today, because it's going to happen. It's inevitable, right? And so watching him push through adversity, I want to see him be tested today, and I think he's going to do a nice job pushing through that adversity.
So far, the Californian kid has been able to ride waves. He hasn't had any gigantic waves he's had to surf, but he's very even keeled.
That's
he
what I love
doesn't
about
get too
him.
high, too low. So it'll be interesting to see if he can keep that poise today. Now, Jay, a lot of players love to go in the road games and be the villain walking into enemy territory, trying to silence the home crowd. I already know that you love to do that. But how do you balance those kind of emotions and letting that help you versus being overconfident?
So what you got to realize is when you're going into hostile territory, and this is something that I always loved as a player, again, for Ohio State, they travel so daggone well that whenever we had a bowl game, everything always felt like a home game. But when you went into like a Penn State or you went into a Wisconsin, and you knew they'd be playing jump around in the fourth quarter or it'd be a whiteout, you embrace the energy. I'd always go out early. I was very big on go out early, get a feel for the crowd, get a feel for the noise, get a feel for the atmosphere, run up and down the field a few times, get really, really sweaty, start to really focus on what you need to do out there when the ball kicks off. And I think the most important things that players who aren't used to this different environment is you get right back into your fundamentals. Fundamental football is what brings you back home. That's screaming and it's 3rd and long and you're trying to figure out like what's going to happen and you're sweating and your back hurts, you just think to yourself, stay low, get off the ball, come out of my stance hard. And when you get back to the fundamentals, it all kind of flows the way it should be. It's going to be a fun game for these guys. But the offensive line is what I want to focus on in this game early on. I want to make sure these guys are getting their checks, their hand claps. It's going to be loud, no false starts, no penalties.
No false starts, no penalties. You don't want to get off rhythm early, and those mental reps are also really important that you touched on as well. But coming up, it's time to block out the noise. It's a raucous road test for the Buckeyes' young quarterback, how Julian Sayin is preparing for the hostile environment of Husky Stadium when we come back.
Expecting a great environment. And I think that's what's great about being in the Big Ten. You see now so many different styles of stadiums, different fan bases. And while I've never played at Washington, I've heard great things about it.
I know they've had a lot of great success at home, and they're a great team. That's going to be an amazing environment to play in, so it's exciting. It's our first road game. It's a really tough one. And I think we're going to walk out of this game, figuring out a lot of stuff about ourselves.
And one of the things the Buckeyes will learn about themselves is how well they handle playing in a hostile environment. There are a few venues in college football that offer an experience like Husky Stadium. It's right on the water. Fans can dock their boats and walk right into the stadium. And once those fans are inside, they make a ton of noise. And that noise is going to be a factor today. This game is sold out, and Washington has won 22 straight games at home. This will be Julian Sayin's first collegiate start on the road, and it's not the easiest place to learn on the fly. Sayin will need to keep his composure in front of a sea of purple. He's coming into Husky Stadium with the best QBR in the Big Ten, throwing for 779 yards and 8 touchdowns on a nearly 79% completion rate, the best in the nation. But this will all be done. This was done in the comfort of the shoe. Sayin will now need to prove he can get the job done on the road. And Coach Day has been using a common tactic in practice to help him prepare.
We've been pumping noise into the speakers during practice. Can't really hear anything. Coach Day's trying to get us so used to it. When they get out to the game, it's almost like you're eliminating that sense. You're not even hearing the noise. You're just playing through it.
Now, this will be Sain's first true road test as a starter, and he's coming off of a somewhat shaky week at times against Ohio University. Despite the 37-9 win, Sain threw 2 interceptions. Can't have those turnovers in this one. You want to establish a rhythm early. Jay, could you see Ohio State rolling with a more conservative game plan like they did against their opener in Texas?
Oh, that would not shock me at all. If I'm Ryan Day, the most important items of business are make sure the offensive line is ready to go. Make sure all of their checks, make sure their silent count, the snap count is on point. The loud stadium, that's like, you expect that in road games.
Right.
Yes, it'll be way more intense, and I think this is a tougher place to play, but if you're trying to get a game plan together for Julian starting off, that opening drive needs to have a very, very tight script. You want to be handing the football off, actually. You want to establish the run really, really early against a defense that I think Ohio State should be able to literally walk the ball up and down the field on this Huskies defense. And then you want Julian to make safe throws outside the numbers, never across the hashes. I don't think Ryan Day is going to be calling a lot of stuff in the middle of the field starting off. And then when in doubt, if there is a 50-50 ball, it's going to go to JJ. You already know number 4 is going to get his opportunities. But if you're Julian saying, make sure you get your guys in and out of the huddle. If you're watching this game, he's going to be putting his hands over his ear holes in his helmet because he's trying to hear the radio from his quarterback and his coordinator. I mean, from his coach and his coordinator, and it's going to be loud. So he'll be doing this a lot. Just look for him to calm the huddle down, nice and easy. Take a deep breath and get under center. And if you are going to be off center and you're going to be in that gun, it'll be a silent count for the offensive line, and that's going to be incredibly key. The offensive line has got to be on the same page as Julian, and then everything will go smooth.
And they were against Texas. And Ryan Day's message to Julian was very similar to the Texas opener. It was just find a way to win. Now, the Buckeyes were inefficient in the red zone against the Bobcats, but the run game, it looked really good, especially when the ball was in Bo Jackson's hands. Ben, do you think Ohio State will lean more on a run-heavy offense to combat the noise in Husky Stadium at first?
Yeah, to piggyback off what Jay was saying there, I think we need that, especially as the Big Ten Conference continues to develop. One thing that doesn't change is it is a physical conference, even if you're adding schools out on the Pacific Coast there. Guys, I really like Bo Jackson. You watch him hit the hole. He hits it with aggression. I mean, he hits just velocity, the way that he runs, and it's almost like he's seeking out contact. Just amazing the way that he runs the football, totes the rock, however we'd like to talk about it here. But one thing I heard earlier this week, some of the offensive linemen for Ohio State that stood out to me, having poise in the noise, and I love that. Just letting that sit there, poise in the noise. Like that's something that you can't control, right? They're going to be pumping, obviously, the noise in the Woody Hayes Athletic Center, but for them to come out, handle the adversity as we've talked about, but we're going to need C.J. Donaldson. We're going to need James People. This is a 3-headed monster, even though that centerpiece I could see being a Bo Jackson. But as we continue to develop here, have to establish the run, have to play great special teams. We want to get the ball to Jeremiah Smith, Carnell Tate as well. But in this physical conference of the Big Ten Conference, have to be able to run the football, guys.
Poise in the noise.
I love
that. Well, if you couldn't make the trip out west, we have you covered. After the break, we will bring you to Seattle to show off the sights and sounds of a city that has more to offer than just your average game day tailgate. We'll be right back. Welcome back. In this week's J&G Pepsi Fantastic Photo of the Week, we're once again showing off our love for Brutus Buckeye and wishing him well on his long journey to the West Coast. He'll definitely bring this scarlet and gray intensity in a sea of purple and gold, and he's always suited and booted. And while Seattle is exciting, this isn't a vacation. This is a business trip for the Buckeyes. It's something podcast. Take a listen.
You know, it's always a fun experience, but it's always with the time change. You got to deal with the adjustment, whether you leave a day early. And sometimes those situations turn into a little bit of a vacation. So you have to be mentally prepared for a situation where you're traveling across country. But nonetheless, I remember, going to Seattle when I was there.
Still, Seattle is an amazing city with a lot to offer for the tourist or the traveling football player. And someone who's very familiar with the Emerald City is our season and got to witness firsthand the Marshawn Lynch Beastquake run. And there's also the fish throwing, Space Needles, good seafood, coffee. Jay, a lot to offer in Seattle. What were your favorite spots there?
Oh my goodness. So first things first, folks, you're going to want to, obviously you're going to enjoy the stadium. Before we get to the stadium.
Yeah, look at the graphic.
Look at the graphic here. So you got Salties, okay, that's on Alki
Okay.
Beach. So right there, you're talking shrimps, you're
Okay.
talking a little bit of oysters,
Oh,
you're
yum.
talking sushi. By the way, I love in California, but the love intensified in Seattle. Man, amazing sushi. Space Needle, yes,
Okay.
it's cool. It's one of those fixtures. You're going to see it in the skyline. Everyone wants to go up there and have a meal and get to the place. I do not like the Space Needle because I don't like being that high up.
Oh, I'm afraid of heights
in
too. I don't think
places
I'd like that.
rotate
Ooh.
and just very cool view. And whale watching, you can do that right there
Oh,
from the
very
Space Needle. You
cool.
will see whales, Ben. Pike Place. Everyone
Ben.
knows about Pike Place. You're going to catch the fish. You're going to see all the cool things. There's a lot of people there. It's a really, really cool spot, Kellyanne, to just get a feel for the culture in Seattle. And I
there
think
you go.
what people love is, yes, there's the fish toss, and then you're going to smell a little bit different than you
Ooh,
arrive.
yeah.
You got to be ready for that. Like, you're not going to smell good when you leave there, but you're going to have fun.
Were you ready to catch the fish? Did you do well
I
doing
caught
that?
a fish there. Of course I
How
caught
many?
the daggone fish. I only caught one. It was a salmon. Wanted to make
course,
sure I
my
caught it
bad.
with the, they give you like a
You
little
know,
newspaper.
athlete.
Come on now, you know what we're dealing with. And then, of
Great
course,
picture.
what you're going to see at the end is sailgating. Now, you talked about Tennessee's
Yeah.
being able to have this at their stadium.
Yeah, they
well,
tailgate on the river, too.
Washington, they have what they call a sailgate. I mean, people literally
With their
take their
sailboats?
boats and they bring it right into like the little
Yes.
mini harbor right there at the stadium, and they have a party. It is a 24/7 party right there at the stadium. They can see some of the game from their boats,
Yeah.
and everyone's getting a little buttered up, having a little bit of fun as you should do at a sailgate, and it becomes one of those things that you just don't see these kind of
No.
experiences. But I like my guy Beanie, and what he said is very, very important. This is not a vacation, Kellyanne.
No.
This is not a vacation.
It
This
is not.
You're going to get distracted. You're going to want to be involved in some of this cool stuff that happens on the West Coast. Don't ever forget why you're there. And in the words of the great LeBron James, keep the main thing the main thing.
That's right. That's right. Now, Jay, one of the spots you mentioned, Pike Place Fish Market, is also on the radar of Jeremiah Smith, who said he'd be down to catch a fish, and we know no doubt that he'd excel at that job. As for Obie and Dave, did you guys get to catch some fish out there so far on your West Coast vacation?
No fish caught. And Jay, so the game is going to start at 3:30 back in the East. It's going to end at 3:30 here, so we have an open night. I wanted to hear Jay Rich's suggestions. He lost me at sushi, Obi.
Well,
he lost me at sushi.
okay,
I'm
all
sorry.
right. I like sushi, and I had a great time down at the market actually on yesterday. Like Jay said, a lot of culture. Great desserts. None of your business if I had that dessert. Okay, those snickerdoodle cookies. None of your business. But everything. It was literally like walking through 15 different countries. The food that was represented there through the market. So I mean, it was nice, and I hope the Buckeyes maybe got a little bit of that.
Yeah.
Though I know you have to be careful with that, right?
I was down on the shores of Lake Washington yesterday, and some of the sailgaters were there. Massive boats. They told me that more than 100 will be there before they kick the thing off today, Obi. So how do you avoid making these feel like a vacation when you're on one of these? This isn't a bowl trip, but it is an extended trip for the Buckeyes.
Yeah, you know what? I remember coming out early. We went on the salmon run. We threw the salmon at the market back in '94 and really had a great time, right? I don't think that had anything to do with the performance on the field, right? I think that, as Jay said, you got to keep the main thing, but I also believe that you have to be present, right? If you're enjoying the market, be present at the market, right? And enjoy that. And if you're in the film room, you be present in the film room. And then when it's game time, you're present at the game time. It's very hard to have 18, 19, and 20-year-old kids really tell them, hey, we're going to have fun, but don't have too much fun. I don't think it works that way.
You told me something interesting off camera about getting hyped before a road game. That might be a little different than a home game. Explain that to the people at home.
Yeah, you know what? I saw that Coach Ryan Day had mentioned that they do have a protocol, but one of the things they do is they show a hype film before they load up on the bus. And I thought that was interesting because a lot of times they say, hey, don't read your own press clippings. I like that he did that. It reminds the Buckeyes of who they are before they come into the enemy's camp.
Yeah, you don't want to be watching your own hype before Grambling or OU, right. but like this, you might need to get hyped because
just might.
They're going to bring it in this building. Hey, coming up next year on The Football Fever, we're going to take a look around the Big Ten. Some shocking results and how it could impact the playoff race. Stay with us. More Fever coming up next.
Welcome back. It's anyone's game right now. The Big Ten has been busted wide open as we head into week 5 of the college football season, and that's primarily because of Illinois' ugly loss to Indiana. After climbing to 9th in the nation, the Fighting Illini were absolutely demolished by the Hoosiers, 63-10. That sent them tumbling down to 23rd, and Indiana shooting up to 11th in the AP college rankings. Now, coming into the season, there was a lot of talk about Illinois being a Big Ten contender in the conference. Ohio State plays them in a couple of weeks. They play USC today at noon. Jay, what are your thoughts at this point of Illinois?
Oh, my goodness. Everything I thought I knew about Illinois just got destroyed by Signetti. It really blew my mind, Ben, because they were my dark horse. I'm like, Villanova they're doing, and I think they could make some noise and upset some teams, and then they get a basketball score put on them. I don't understand it. I get, turnovers and just things happen so fast and the game can get out of hand, but you expect at some point to be able to put up a fight. No, Illinois got dismantled in all phases of the game, and their QB play just did not look what I thought it was going to look heading into this game. So I got to say, the Illini, they have a lot of work to do. I know they got SC. I'm looking forward to that matchup because I want to see if they can bounce back and show everybody that was just a fluke, like a one-off, and maybe things turn back around for them.
Fluke.
But right now, I'm out. All my chips are out on Illinois.
That was an ugly one. There's no doubt about
well,
that.
that poses the other question. Are the Hoosiers going to live up to the hype, or are they overhyped? So last season, many people said their ranking didn't really reflect the strength of their schedule, despite remaining undefeated up until they played the Buckeyes. Now, Ben, who do you think is going to be OSU's main threat in conference play this year?
Yeah, I'm glad we're not playing Indiana this year, guys. I think Kurt Signetti is for real. If you've noticed, he's not talking quite as much as he was. He's not chirping quite as much. And
Not
I think
yet.
maybe there's a life lesson that
gotta play Ohio State.
comes along with that. That's true. You're not playing the Ohio State Buckeyes. You're a good point. Penn State, they're always kind of looming. They're always there. Drew Aller, I think we've been waiting. I mean, there's the kind of these flashes of brilliance that we'll see, but I don't know if he's quite lived up to that hype that we've all hoped for. Northeastern Ohio kid. I mean, I certainly wish him the best when he's not playing Ohio State, but that's always looming right there. We have him at home. Team up north, call it what it is. I mean, we have to win this game this year. You're playing, Bryce Underwood, a freshman quarterback, watching him continue to develop, and he's only going to develop that much more as the season moves on. But I agree with you, Jay. Illinois, I was all in on them and Brett Bielema, what they're doing there. And then, as you mentioned, a basketball score, 63 points. Hard to come back from something like that. Was it isolated? Was it an isolated incident? I guess it remains to be seen. We'll just see where we go from here. But yeah, play them on the road in a couple weeks. So there's a couple tests still on the schedule for us here.
Well, we have a really good slate of college football games today. And the big conference game today is the rematch of the Big Ten Championship between Oregon and Penn State. The Nittany Lions hosting the Ducks in a whiteout at 7:30. So in this week's edition of Prime Sportsbook Picks of the Day, we're breaking down the Ducks versus the Nittany Lions, looking at Penn State. Let me just say this. We are unsuccessful in matchup games. That's not a shot, that's the truth. The Nittany Lions have lost 14 straight regular season games to top 10 teams. So who do you guys believe will be the victor in this matchup? Now, I said that, I took a shot, but it is the truth. I think this is James Franklin's time to get that. And they're at home, it's a whiteout, so I think Penn State wins in a close one to Oregon today.
I think you're optimistic, Carla.
You think I'm
I really do. I think sometimes you
got to get it done.
Call a spade a spade. You just are who you are at a certain point. No disrespect. Penn State is a very good football team. Are they elite? Are they the top upper echelon? I think they want to be there, but I mean that stat is so telling right there. You look at the ranked opponents and how they're showing up when the lights are shining the brightest for the Big Ten. Again, I know Oregon now being in the Big Ten Conference, a traditional Big Ten team. I'd love to see Penn State win this game. I like Oregon in this one. I think the creativity, I think the quarterback play, ultimately the team speed will be the difference in this one. I like the Ducks in this matchup.
Jay, what's your pick?
This is a tough matchup. It's going to be a tough challenge for Oregon to go there during a whiteout at night. I still have to take Oregon. I don't care. Listen, I think Dan Lanning has his program ready to play. He really does every single week, and I love the multiple offense that they have. Man, these guys can attack you through the air multiple different ways. They run the ball very well, and they got number 10 on defense, Ungalele. I'm going to say his name wrong. He's got a lot of vowels in his name. This kid is a pass rusher, already over 3+ sacks in this season. He's somebody that's going to be making life this game. You're going to just notice him coming off the edge. The dude is just an absolute monster. And I just don't think, I hate to say this, I just don't think James Franklin is a big game coach.
He hasn't showed it yet.
He's won.
Right.
Exactly.
He hasn't showed it yet.
We can't name it. Until you do it, you're just not that guy. And Drew Aller, you hinted at it, Kelly.
Yeah.
He's just not that kid.
No, he's on a leash.
If we haven't seen it yet, you're not going to all of a sudden see it against a top opponent at home. I know you got the home crowd and you're going to be feeling good, but I like their running backs. I just don't like the matchup at coaching, and that's a huge one to me. And I don't like the matchup with that defense versus Drew Aller. He can't do it.
You all made fabulous points. I'm still taking Penn State. Now, remember, you must be 21 and over to play. Odds subject to change. And if you think you might have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Now, he can make life hard for opposing defenses. The Huskies QB is mobile and can effortlessly extend plays. How the Silver Bullets are preparing to contain a tricky dual-threat quarterback that they've historically struggled with. Coming up.
you turn the film on, he's super fast, making a lot of tough plays, extending plays, making plays downfield, making plays with his legs, quarterback runs. So you got to really account for him. He's a great player. You know, being aware for quarterback runs, being aware for QB draws, you know, being aware as the play extends, like getting ready for him to scramble out. And then for the defensive line, you got to be able to keep him in the pocket. Just be extra cautious with that.
Today's game features two high-powered offenses, and Washington has one of the most mobile QBs in all of college football. Demond Williams Jr. has over 200 rushing yards. He's similar in size and built to Kyler Murray, making him an elusive runner. Ohio State now has historically struggled with these type of quarterbacks. Sonny Styles talked about being a good quarterback spy. Ben, what kind of game plan do you think Matt Patricia is going to roll out to contain this guy?
Jay and I were talking off camera. Obviously, he's the defensive expert. I'll defer to him. But it was educating. Obviously, you're not going to see a lot of cover 1, cover 0, cover 5. What you're seeing there is for what we're talking about there. You have to spy the quarterback if you're going to do that. That's what I think Sonny Styles will be the guy that's going to do that at an elite level today. But, you know, then you look at that, it's kind of pick your poison. There's athletes all over this football field today. When you talk about the Washington Huskies, that's going to open up a Denzel Boston at wide receiver. So it really is kind of pick your poison. This is a Matt Patricia money day, as we like to say.
Yeah.
Jay Rich.
Absolutely, it is. Nailed it.
Now, Jay, the defensive line will need to put in some serious work today to contain both the mobile quarterback and stop a potent ground attack by a really good running back. What kind of challenges does that present to the defensive front?
So if you're Bo Atkinson, you know, if you're Caden Curry, you want so badly to get to the quarterback. Like you want to beat that offensive line and you want to get back there because the UW offensive line are not great in pass pro. They are good in run blocking. So it's a big sack day if you're an offensive or if you're a defensive lineman for Ohio State. The problem is they got a miniature Kyler Murray back there, and man, this dude runs around, you know. Like a toddler, you know, it's had too much sugar. Like you just can't catch him. You don't know what to do, and he's hard to see. I'm a former player that I played against a guy named Darren Sproles, both at K-State when I was at Ohio State, and when I was playing against the Saints and with the Saints in the NFL. And Sproles is like 5'7", 5'8", and he's like a little muscle ball, and you can't find him over the offensive line, and he's so short. And he's one of these guys, you know, Demond Williams, who's just like that, except he's got a cannon too. So if you're playing defense against a guy like that, you spread out a little bit. You contain your rush lanes. It's going to be so important to keep good rush lanes. It'll be so important that once you get past your offensive lineman, do not go sprinting at the quarterback because you're not going to sack him. He's going to make you miss.
Elusive.
You're going to be on his highlight tape on SportsCenter, and he'll be turning the corner, running down the field, looking for someone to pass to because he can throw the football too. So being the hardest thing for a defensive lineman is to not take the bait. You want so badly to just take off and go get the sack. You cannot do that. Keep him in front of you and make him throw from the pocket. A shorter quarterback cannot throw from the well. There's too many offensive linemen, too many hands, and that's another thing. Hands up. You'll knock down a lot of passes. You might tip one and get an interception. And
if there's some one-on-one matchups with Ohio State's secondary, I take the corners over their wide receivers. Now, it will be a challenge for Ohio State's defense. I want to throw out this stat. Washington has scored on 23 of 29 possessions this season. So this is a very good test to see the Silver Bullets come to play. Now, Jay, you seem to have a different kind of idea of how this game is going to go defensively for the Buckeyes. Challenging his thoughts is our own Obi Stillwell for a debate hour. Obi, why do you disagree with Jay?
Let's hear it, Obi.
Well, you know what? I think that this Washington team is going to be the best offense that Ohio State has ever come against. You look at the law firm, if you will, of Coleman, Boston, and Williams. I mean, I think they're the real deal, and this is going to be a huge test. I don't think it's not a game that Ohio State can be comfortable with at any level. I believe the score is going to be something like 28 to 39, or it's an upset. If they cannot keep Washington under 30 points, I think there's a possibility of Ohio State being upset. Again, the running backs, the Ohio State defense, everyone knows, has always been challenged with the mobile quarterback, and that's typical, right? The passing lanes, I believe, with this particular quarterback is going to be in between the tackles. As you spoke about his height, he's 5'11", about 190 pounds, extremely agile, but very accurate. He's a very accurate thrower, has a powerful arm, and then he has Boston on the other end. Denzel Boston at 6'4", 210 pounds. You look at some of the stats between him and Jeremiah Jeremiah Smith. Jeremiah has 20 receptions. He has 16. Jeremiah has 315 yards. He has 249. Jeremiah Smith has 3 touchdowns. He has 3 touchdowns. There are a lot of similarities. I think the Buckeyes are going to have their hands full. So I'm not saying necessarily that they're going to lose. Hey, it's over. You know what I'm saying? But what I'm saying is that this is going to be a very different game. It seems like every time we feel like we're getting questions answered. For example, with Texas, you watch Texas and you're like, maybe those are not maybe we didn't ask the right questions, right? Because Texas is not who we thought Texas were. And then we look at Grambling, and then we look at OU, and they stuck around to the third quarter with Ohio State. Why is that? Why did they stop us on the first series on the goal line? Ohio State, OU stopped Ohio State. These are some things that I think have to be answered. Today. Please,
Okay, listen, Obi. At the end of the day, here's what we discussed. You said this was going to be a shootout. You thought that Washington, like you said, was going to score more than 30 points, and I told you that was not going to happen. You know why I said that? Because when you got 2 head coaches that are both concerned about the other team's offense, they have to be smart with their defense and be smart with their calls offensively. If you are going against the Ohio State Buckeyes, you do not want to get into a shootout when you know you have a terrible defense. Washington's defense, I won't say terrible, that's disrespectful, but I will say they are not a very good defense, Obi. They do not want Julian saying Jeremiah Smith having multiple cracks and possessions. Ohio State will put up 45 points if that happens. So what they're going to do is control the clock. They do have a very good running game. Jonah Clemson is a top back. He'll be a first-round pick. That is somebody that Jonah Coleman. That is somebody that if I'm their head coach, I'm going, I want to run the football. I want to limit possessions for Ohio State. I want to make sure that my quarterback has important opportunities to throw the football. But you don't want to just turn into an air raid type of thing. This is Caleb Downs and some of these guys back there in that secondary. Matt Patricia, they're amazing against the pass.
Jay, cut his mic. Cut his mic.
Cut his mic.
The reason why I agree with you somewhat is because at this point in time, I believe they have 2 linebackers that are out and 1 defensive back that may be out for Washington's defense. Yes. So I kind of lean a little bit, but still, I'm going to hold fast. 28-39, I believe Ohio State wins. But if they cannot hold Washington under 30 points, I think there's going to be problems.
You know what? I don't want this to get out of hand. Let's bring some class and civility. Let's bring a live guest. We need someone here to be a peacemaker. Everyone, welcome Pat Chun, who is the Director of Athletics here for the University of Washington and an Ohio State alum. Spent, about 20 years being a student and working at Ohio State. So what do you feel today when you see your current school against your old school?
Well, I'm worried. Is Jay talking crap about the Huskies?
Yes.
I think Jay was.
I didn't have an earpiece. Just for the record, I've been friends with Obi 30 years. Wow. First time he's ever asked me on a show. He had to always come to Seattle. Yeah, and Clay's not even on the show anymore. Look what. So I get it. I appreciate you guys coming out here. It's the greatest setting in college football. We're excited to have the Buckeyes here, and obviously there's a lot of ties here between me and not only me. We got Scotty Graham on staff. Yeah. Michael Brewster's on staff. Yeah. So it's been a fun week. Just it's good having those guys around. But I think we all kind of have the same opinion. We would not be where we're at in life without the Ohio State University. Today's just going to be a fun day, and you would not go to Ohio State and be around that football program if you're not competitive as all heck. And we know what we got to do. It's a huge opportunity for our football program, and it's going to be a fun day for us. Yeah.
Pat, what type of things are you telling the athletic department, the fan base, to really prepare for Ohio State that travels so well? But are there a couple nuggets here or there that you've shared to kind of just prepare them for this game?
Well, I think it's more reminding ourselves this is the loudest stadium in the Big Ten and maybe the loudest stadium in the country. So it's get in the stadium early because Ohio State does travel more than most. So we're going to have a lot of people that don't know their way in around the stadium. We put extra scanners in and around, and if an OHIO happens to go around the stadium, I've prepared our staff on what to do. So I've been to enough of those games. So we're ready. So
before you're at Washington State. Last week you beat your old Cougars. Now you're facing Ohio State. This is like Pat Chun. This is your life the last couple. What's going on here?
Yeah, it's like a Christmas Carol. The Ghost of Christmas Past coming. Yeah, and I actually didn't even go to the game last week, so yeah, a little bit different relationship with Washington State and Ohio State. So, but it's fun. At the end of the day, it's the best thing about sports and college football is just the connectivity. It's good having an old friend in town. It's good seeing a bunch of people in town. My daughter is a junior at Ohio State. She flew in last night. I got friends like my roommates. Sean and Jeff Donovan, I know, are watching this right now. So it's like that's the fun part of all this.
Yeah. Well, absolutely. Best of luck. I hope one of your teams wins today, Pat. One of your teams.
We need the Huskies to win. So no dogs.
We will see. Pat Chun, Director of Athletics, and a proud Buckeye alum as well. More Fever coming up next.
We are in a day and era of college football where pedigree don't matter no more.
Exactly.
Clemson fans do not care. That whole 53-minute spiel where he's talking about, okay, are coming with me. This, that. This is a production-based business. Now is a time more than ever when you've got transfer portal, when you've got NIL. It's win now mentality. So for Dabo Swinney, for Clemson, you got to stop living in the past and start delivering in the present.
Clocked it. Former Alabama running back Damian Harris sounding off Dabo Swinney, telling him it's time to stop living in the past and deliver in the present. It's been 7 years since the Tigers won a national title, and since their 23-29 win over the Buckeyes in 2019, it's been all downhill. OSU 28 on the back of a 6-touchdown performance from Justin Fields in the Sugar Bowl. After that, the slide really started. 2021 saw Clemson finish with a 10-3 record, missing the playoffs for the first time since the new postseason format began in 2014. They had to settle for a Cheez-It Bowl win over Iowa. Of another 3-loss season was softened by an ACC title, but the Tigers once again didn't make the playoffs and were smashed in the Orange Bowl by Tennessee. It would get even worse in 2023. This time, Dabo and the Tigers went 9-4, finishing 20th in the nation after a Gator Bowl win over Kentucky. And that brings us to last season. Despite another 4-loss year, Clemson actually made the playoffs thanks to the newly expanded format, but they still lost in the first round to Texas 24-38. Ben, this isn't the same Clemson team, right?
Sure.
Dabo has been outspoken a critic of NIL and thinks, do you think that has anything to do with some of the current struggles about his refusal to embrace the major changes in college football?
You don't think the Cheez-It Bowl is getting it done these days
I like
anymore?
Cheez-Its. I don't know.
What are we talking about?
Not for Clemson.
Couldn't have said it any better. Football and major college football today in 2025, more than ever, with name, image, and likeness. It is a what have you done for me lately business, right? Yes, we've seen the playoffs expand, et cetera. But, you look at some of the legends of the game, the Nick Saban, the Urban Meyers. There's a reason perhaps they've left. They haven't come back with some offers, right? I mean, you consider yourself somewhat of an old school coach, and I'm saying that as a positive right there. You have to adapt, or you're seeing what's going to happen right now, right? The proof is really in the pudding, as we're seeing with Dabo. Yes, won many championships many years ago, but what are we seeing with not being able to use the transfer portal effectively with NIL, et cetera? You look at the House settlement now with Grant House, the swimmer, and obviously winning that. Now we're going to see revenue sharing in college sport. The NIL class that I have the privilege to teach at Ohio State. A lot of student athletes in that class. People are fired up about this. It's one of those things you have to evolve, or you're going to be left behind right here.
Not the traditional powerhouse Clemson used to be. Jay, what's your thoughts on Dabo Swinney?
Listen, Dabo, 180-47 as a head coach, has 2 nationals. That's fantastic. Ever since he got up there and said he's not a big proponent of NIL and doesn't want his guys focused on making money, what have you noticed? You've noticed the top talent is no longer going to Clemson. And they've come a long way between having Sammy Watkins and all of these top-tier athletes. No. Cade Klubnik is not the guy. We all can see that when the film cuts on. He's just not at that level, and that's because Dabo doesn't have players at that level anymore. Because if you're a parent of one of these kids and you want your kid to have an opportunity to play top-tier college football and make a great living for themselves and be able to change their economic situation, you're not going to go to Clemson. You're not going to go somewhere where the head guy has already put it out there that he's not interested in your kid making money. And when you see stuff like that, you go, uh-oh, he's not changing with the times. This could be a problem. And the record shows it. 10-4 last season. They get knocked out by Texas. And now you got Matthew McConaughey pat you on the back saying, have a nice day, kid. That is not where you want to be if you're Clemson and Dabo Swinney.
You got to get with it or get left behind, and there's a balance, right? But Dabo Swinney needs to figure that one out. Now, coming up, we'll hear Dave's keys to the game and his final thoughts before kickoff. This is the Football Fever. We'll be right back.
Time now for our Hyundai Keys to the Game. Rush, you Huskies. Ohio State needs to get that ground game going, control the time of possession, try to take this crowd out of it. Roll out the welcome mat. I'm talking about you, Matt Patricia. Scheme something against Damon Williams Jr., make his day uncomfortable, and the final key, setting the scene. They call this the greatest setting in college football. You don't want to give them something to be excited about in the third and fourth quarter. Back here live at Husky Stadium, Obi Stillwell, final thoughts as the Buckeyes get ready for the Huskies today at 3:30 back in the East.
Well, you know what? Just more of the same. I believe that the Huskies are going to come out and they're going to throw the ball going to run the ball. I don't think they're going to milk the clock. I don't think they're going to slow things down. They understand where they are defensively, but even the characteristic of Washington is not to sit back. It's to actually be a gunslinger and throw that ball. So I believe that Ohio State has to be ready for that. So it's going to be interesting to see what Ohio State's defense is able to do against this Husky offense.
We're going to learn a lot about a lot of things today because Washington beat Colorado State, UC Davis, and Washington State. That is not murderer's row, but we saw Texas kind of sputter a little bit. OU, Gremlin, we're going to learn something today, Obi.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, again, the stadium is going to be a factor. Being away is going to be a factor, but they can win this game.
Yeah, we can't wait for the Buckeyes and the Huskies. 3:30 kick. Join us tonight for postgame on the Football Fever.